Hello everyone. Uh, this is not the actual video for this week. This is just an in-between video in which I want to talk about some stylistic issues about the way I've seen because of the way I've seen people write their code. So I think one of the uh, biggest problems I've been having checking students' code is apparently very few of you are using uh, some kind of proper indentation for your code. So while most students' code will run, it's sometimes very difficult to make sense of what's going on. And similarly, when you don't use proper indentation methods, you yourself uh, will have a harder time debugging your own code, figuring out what you're doing wrong, what's not working. So let me show you two pieces of code that we used before. So here's one. I think I called this one the test classes. I think this is from week week 1 or week 2. So as you can see, this is piece of code is quite straightforward. You can see that the first real line of code, and let me just collapse all of these comment blocks to make things a little more visible. Yeah. So the first real line of code is this line in which we are declaring the test class. And you can see that uh, the next line is the start of the main method, which is inside the test class. Now, how can we easily tell? Why can we easily tell that the main method is inside the test class? We can tell because of the fact that this line, the start of the main method, is indented by 4 characters or one tab character. And basically anything that is further to the right of the start of the public class test line means that all of that code is also inside the test class. And similarly, all the code, all the lines of code that are further to the right of the start of the main method, all of that code, meaning all this stuff that we can see and all the way down, all of that is inside the main method. Now, um, obviously, after the main method, I could have another method. We've seen that before. So it's not necessarily that all the code that is indented by 2 tabs it all belongs to the main method. No, there can also be an end to the main method, and we end a method or a class by putting one of these curly braces, right curly braces at the end. As you can see, right now we only have a test class with one main method. Uh, but if you have many methods, or let's say there has to be an easy way for us to match the start of the main method with its corresponding ending brace, curly brace. One convention to use is the one that I've used over here. So you put the opening curly brace on the same line as the main method over here, and the closing curly brace is put at the level of the main method. You can see we did the same thing for the class, for the test class. We have the opening curly brace right after, one space after the name after test, and the closing curly brace is at the same level as public class test. And that's how we can easily match up opening curly braces with closing curly braces. And we don't do that only for classes and methods. Um, as we saw in the last lecture of last week, week 3, um, even inside even inside a method like the main method, we can have lines of code that belong together because they are, for example, um, inside a for loop, like we have over here. You can see over here there's a lot going on. We have a for loop. We use the same technique. We put the opening curly brace on the same line as the start of the for loop, and we put the closing brace at the same indentation level as the line where we begin the for loop. Now you can see everything that is further everything between for and the closing and its closing brace. Everything that is more indented than that, automatically we can easily see is code that runs inside of this for loop. Now what is happening inside this for loop? We have another for loop with its own 2 lines of code. And when we get out of that for loop, we have another one instruction, one line of code that runs after the complete execution of the entire inner for loop. So this is easy to interpret and easy to understand because in this example, everything is properly indented. So basically everything, so all the code that falls, that comes between an opening brace and a closing brace, there's another name for that, we also call that a code block. You can see that we use the same convention throughout. We have this for loop over here, has these 3 lines inside, and these 3 lines are a for loop which itself has only 1 line, and after this 1 line executes, we have this 1 more line that executes after the completion of the inner for loop. You can see we also use some indentation for when we were initializing this 2-dimensional ragged array. And a couple of other things I wanted to show you. You see this red line over here. This is not arbitrary. This is early on computer screens were only able to accommodate up to 80 characters on one line. That's just how big the screen was. So generally we try to avoid having very long lines of code that go beyond 80 characters. Of course, now for the past many years we've had much higher resolution displays, and we were able to accommodate many characters, many more than 80. So if you go into Tools, Options, and check your editor options, take some time and explore what some of these options are. So for example, code folding, here you can see here, right margin is currently set to 80. Okay, kind of the default. Lots of other options regarding alignment, how you want to keep your braces, whether you want to want the editor to, if you write an if condition, whether you want the editor to automatically generate or produce a pair of braces after that for you, code completion. uh, go through this. You may not understand all of these right now, but over time you will, and you come to appreciate having these options. I won't go through all of these right now, but do take a look. Okay. How to use blank lines? Yes, usually um, we like to put one blank line before the start and after, before and after every method. Okay, so in this preview window that we have on the right side, um, you see what the current settings that you select over here, what kind of code they will produce. Spaces, before, after variables, keywords, about comments. All right. There's one other thing I want to mention. So while most programming languages um, make use of some kind of, usually curly braces, to denote the start and end of a code block, um, uh, that goes with a for loop or an if condition or any of these statements. Uh, there are some languages like Python, for example, in which you don't use parentheses to communicate which lines of code uh, uh, go inside a for loop, for example. Instead, uh, you do that by using just indentations. So if you get into the habit of into the habit of using indentations according to some standard format, this one, for example, um, that will make it much easier for you to switch to Python or learn Python later on, which is, as computer science students, will probably have to at some point. So, yeah, please make life easier for yourself and for me when I'm checking your code, and use good indentation practice. And so this was just an in between lecture. Um, so I'll upload the real lecture for tomorrow's class in a little bit. So see you all tomorrow.